Hello, everyone. Welcome to back to our short sermon series. And in this episode, we're discussing what is the difference between mortal and venial sin. If you remember from the last episode, we were talking about the importance of confession. And so tied very closely in with that, we're going to be talking about the different kinds of sin. So there are just two kinds. There's mortal and venial sin. There's not a third kind out there. And basically, I guess the easiest way to explain it would be every sin harms our relationship with God. But there are some sins that do more damage than others, right? And so with venial sin, that is where we would say that kind of sin wounds our relationship with God, right? It hurts our relationship with God, it hurts our relationship with others, but it doesn't destroy the relationship, right? If I commit a venial sin, like maybe I speak to someone out of anger or something like that, but I don't, it's out of frustration, I'm not really malicious about it. That hurts that relationship, right? But the relationship is still there. And so it's a wound and it does need to be healed. But the relationship, I can still have grace that is dwelling in me, right? I'm in the state of grace even if I have 1,000 venial sins, right? I'm still in the state of grace. That's different from mortal sin, right? So mortal sin is an entirely different quality of sin. Mortal sin actually kills sanctifying grace in our soul. It sounds kind of intense to say that, but that's really what it does. It ends, we are no longer in the state of grace if we've committed a mortal sin. And is that serious? Yes, it is. And so thank God that we have confession if we've committed serious sin, if we've committed mortal sin. So what are some of the differences there? What do I need to do to commit a mortal sin? This isn't advice. This is how to, this is how we can avoid it, right? So for a mortal sin, there's three conditions. First and foremost, it has to be serious. It has to be seriously wrong. So it's not like, stealing a 50-cent candy bar. That's wrong. Again, that'd be a venial sin. I shouldn't do that. But that wouldn't fall into that, grave category. So it has to be seriously wrong. I have to know that it's wrong, right? So I have to be aware that what I'm doing is wrong. And then finally, I freely have to choose it. Right, so I'm not being forced, I'm not being pressured. We could think about a very serious offense would be robbing a bank, right? Which would be very seriously wrong to do. But if someone is forcing me to or is threatening me to commit that sin of robbing a bank, then I'm not free, right? My will isn't, I don't really want to be doing it, right? And so that would not be a mortal sin, even though it would still be wrong. It would not be a mortal sin because I'm not acting freely. And so if I'm missing any one of those, right, either it's not grave or I don't know that it's wrong or I'm not freely choosing it, then it's not a mortal sin. I have to have all three of those to commit a mortal sin. And if I have all three of those, and I died, and I'm with that on my soul, and I'm not repentant, then that is what would send us to hell, which is why it's so serious, right? And so that's right out of the Catechism. The Catechism of the Catholic Church teaches us that to go to hell, committing a mortal sin is necessary, and being unrepentant in it up until the moment we die. And so even if we've committed a mortal sin, right, if we realize what we've done, we have that contrition, that sorrow. We want to come back to confession as soon as possible, right? That's always a very good sign, right? That we want to restore that life of grace in us. One other quick thing too, I should say that because they're a completely different quality kind of sin, right? Venial sin wounds the relationship with God, whereas mortal sin, kills that state of grace within our souls. That's not like 50,000 venial sins add up to a mortal sin, right? So venial sin and mortal sin are a completely different quality of sin, whereas, so it's not like I commit a bunch of venial sins and somehow adds up to a mortal sin. It's a completely different category of sin. But with both sins, right, we can go to confession and have those sins completely wiped away. With venial sin, there's different ways. Any growth in charity or doing anything out of love can help take away those venial sins. So little sacramentals like blessing ourselves with holy water. There's actually a short little penitential rite at the beginning of Mass where we ask for forgiveness for our sins. Also, receiving the Eucharist. If we're receiving the Eucharist with love, faith, and devotion, can grant us forgiveness of venial sins. But for mortal sins, we have to go to the sacrament of reconciliation for those. That's the normal way that the Lord offers us forgiveness. And so I hope that helps. Hope that helps between the distinction between mortal and venial sin. So thanks so much for joining us for this episode. And please join us next time when we will be discussing...
Why we can't make up.
Oh, that's right. Okay, so sorry, I had a brain fart there. We're going to be talking about why we can't make up for Sunday Mass by going to a weekday Mass, right? So some people might think, well, if I miss Mass on Sunday, not a big deal. I can just go during the week. And we're going to talk about why that's not the case. So thanks so much for joining us, and God bless you.